Welcome to another episode of Currently Speaking, the podcast of the Current Consulting Group. As usual, I'm Bill Current, the president and founder of the Current Consulting Group, and it's great to be doing another podcast episode for you. This episode is entitled What Employers Can Learn About the Effectiveness of Drug Testing from Current Consulting Group's 2025 Employer Survey. But before I start, let me just invite you to go to our website at currentconsultinggroup.com, where you'll find past episodes of Currently Speaking. You can also find us on most major platforms for podcasts, including our YouTube channel. Just go to Currently Speaking at YouTube and you'll find past episodes there as well. Now, I referred to our 2025 Employer Survey. Every year, the Current Consulting Group does two surveys, one of the drug testing industry, which we release in the spring, and one of employers, which we release in the fall. So what I'm going to share today are some results from our 9th annual employer drug testing survey. The drug testing industry survey that we released earlier this year, which you can find at our website as well, was our 27th annual survey. So we've been doing this a long time. So let's get started. What can we learn from this year's 2025 employer survey on drug testing? Well, we learned that drug testing works. At least that's what a growing percentage of employers say in Current Consulting Group's 2025 Employer Drug Testing Survey. When asked, speaking for yourself, do you consider drug testing effective? 70% said yes, very effective, which was up from 66% in CCG's 2024 survey. Now, another 18% said that drug testing is effective, but maybe not so much effective. And 8% said they believed drug testing was effective, but they weren't really sure how. But a lot of employers do consider drug testing to be effective. Now, why a company conducts drug testing will have a significant impact on whether the program is considered successful. For instance, when asked, why establish and maintain a drug testing program, the responses were as follows. Promote a safe workplace, 85%, the number one response. To comply with the DOT requirements, 54%. To hire the best possible job candidates, 51%. To minimize legal risk, 49%. To comply with other federal requirements, 45%. Comply with the state laws that apply to these employers, 36%. To reduce employee turnover, 28%. And to reduce the overall cost of doing business, 26%. Now, when employers were asked what benefits does your company realize from drug testing, this is how they responded. Improved safety in the workplace was the number one response with 84%, followed by being able to hire better quality employees, 62%, a better company reputation, 55%, improved productivity, 47%, better morale among workers, 27%, cost of business savings, 24%, fewer confrontations in the workplace, 22%, and less employees theft, 17%. Hence, most employers test to promote a safe workplace, and most also believe drug testing helps them accomplish that objective. As well, a majority test to help them hire good quality workers, which also contributes to a safer workplace, and most believe drug testing helps them achieve that objective as well. It's important to note that 1 out of 4 employers say they test to reduce overall costs, and 1 out of 4 believe it's helping them do that. Of course, safe workplaces are less costly workplaces, especially when you consider the following. Substance abusers are 3.6 times more likely to be involved in an accident than their non-drug using coworkers. Substance abusers are also 5 times more likely to file a workers' compensation claim. And the average cost of a workers' compensation claim is just over $44,000. Though it can be a lot higher for certain types of claims, such as motor vehicle crashes, which average over $90,000. Therefore, reducing the number of substance abusers on the payroll reduces costs. Maintaining safer workplaces, hiring better quality workers, and reducing costs, as well as other objectives, are achieved when drug testing deters drug use. The deterrent effect of drug testing depends a lot on when a company conducts drug testing. For example, pre-employment and random testing are deterrent testing circumstances because the test precedes any suspicion of drug use. It's a suspicionless type of drug testing. or any event that could involve drugs. However, both send a deterrent message that workplace drug use will not be tolerated. On the other hand, reasonable suspicion and post-accident testing are reactionary tests that typically occur when drug use is already suspected or after an accident has already occurred, which also send messages that workplace drug use comes with consequences. When our survey participants were asked, when does your company conduct drug testing? The results were as follows. Pre-employment, 94%, number one by far. Reasonable suspicion, 84%. Post-accident, 80%. Random, 78%. Return to duty, 57%. And follow-up, 53%. Then when asked, have positive drug test results increased over the past year? 38% said yes, up slightly from 36% in 2024 survey, while 54% said no, which was about the same as the 53% the previous year. On the surface, these responses may indicate that drug test positives are heading in the right direction because those same positives are increasing was less than those who said positives did not go up. However, two things to consider. One, nearly 4 out of 10 employers said positive results are on the rise, which is not a good trend. It's actually a very bad trend. And it's consistent with the last 2 years when 36% and 40% respectively said positives had increased over the previous year. And two, when 54% said positives did not go up, they weren't necessarily saying they had gone down, they just hadn't increased. Additionally, 15% said post-accident positives were up in 2025, an increase from 13% in 2023, compared to 67% who said they were the same and 8% who said they had decreased. Now, according to the 2025 Quest Diagnostics Drug Testing Index, for the general U.S. workforce, post-accident testing positivity was basically unchanged at 10.4%, compared to 10.2% the previous year. Of course, any kind of decline is good news, right? Though it continues to be elevated when compared to federally mandated post-accident positivity, which was 4.5% in 2025's report, 4.6% the previous year. According to Quest's official press release, quote, the overall drug positivity rate continues to reflect persistent trends. When we talk to employers, they tell us the same thing the Quest data tells us, that drug abuse is an ongoing issue among American workers. Many also realize that permissive attitudes around drug use can put their non-substance abusing employees, not to mention the general public, at risk, end quote. The need for drug testing continues to exist, and many employers believe it works at achieving specific objectives like promoting workplace safety and enabling companies to hire better quality workers. Unfortunately, not all employers make an effort to actually measure their return on investment from drug testing. In our survey, when we asked, how does your company measure the success or return on investment of its drug testing program, 46% said they don't formally measure ROI. Now, this is surprising, especially given the financial constraints the current economy has imposed on many industries the past several years, and the fact that measuring the ROI of drug testing can be a fairly simple process involving answering just a few questions. For example, how many of your employees use drugs? The national average is about 15%. What is the average cost of each drug-abusing employee annually? The average is $8,800 a year. And how much does drug testing cost your company each year? And then you just do the math. Subtract the cost of drug testing from the cost of substance abuse, and the difference is your savings from conducting drug testing. Let me give you an example. If by conducting pre-employment testing, you avoid hiring 15 substance abusers who would cost your company an average of $8,800 each year, or a total of $132,000, and you spend $25,000 on drug testing, your savings is $107,000, right? $132,000, the cost of drug abuse, minus $25,000, the cost of drug testing, to avoid hiring those 15 substance abusers. Now, of course, measuring your drug testing ROI can get much more complicated, especially when you factor in the soft dollar costs of one drug testing method versus another, like lab-based testing versus rapid result testing, or urine versus oral fluid, or on-site collections versus off-site collections. you can see it can get kind of complex. But the ROI of drug testing always comes out in the employer's favor. Now, in conclusion, let me say, when everything is taken into consideration, the true measure of the effectiveness of drug testing is its impact on a company's bottom line. Drug testing works because it deters drug use, which saves money. It works because it helps companies avoid hiring drug users. It deters employees from being impaired by drugs while on the job, and it makes it possible for employers to identify valuable employees who need help. And all of that has a direct positive impact on a company's bottom line. And according to Current Consulting Group's 2025 Employer Drug Testing Survey, the vast majority of employers agree that drug testing is effective. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Currently Speaking, the podcast of the Current Consulting Group. You can find more past episodes of Currently Speaking at our website, currentconsultinggroup.com, where you can also find lots of other information about the Current Consulting Group. We look forward to having you visit us in future episodes of Currently Speaking. And for now, we'll say goodbye. Have a great day.